Hi, I'm back with yet another episode. Now on page 146 of Survive, I'm going to read an excerpt. Just a little excerpt from page 146 of Survive. I aimed my .600 to the right side and fired once. Reaction force tipped the tank over to the left side. So I could roll in it towards him. I turned it clockwise. Conquest. Welcome to my channel. My name is Victor, the author of the Fire Soldier series of novels. Now at this moment, John Taylor thinks very fast. Approaching the sniper shooter proves to be a daunting task, so he jumps into the tank, and for a moment he remains stock still in it, thinking and calculating. Now tipping the tank over to its mantle is almost impossible while he's inside it. So what does he do? We're just about to find that out. Take an hypothetical tank that looks like so, then figure out the protagonist, that is John Taylor, of course, and who is just about to come face to face with a rogue agent who wants him dead. Of course, that is John Silverstein. Now the protagonist decides to hop right into the tank, so he kind of takes cover. You'd think that's silly, but wait until you see what happens next. Now most of us are aware of the Newton's laws of motion. The first law of motion states that every object remains in motion or remains at rest unless an external force forces it out of that particular position. If you, for example, have an object moving in that direction, like so, that object moves in that direction unless an external force acts upon it. For example, if you have a barrier here, when this object moves towards that direction and hits that barrier, that object stops. Okay? Another example is that object remains still unless a force acts upon it, like so. So the Newton's first law of motion states that every object remains in a state of motion or at rest unless it is acted upon by an external force. Now the second law of motion states that force is a product of the mass of that particular object and the rate of change of velocity with time, that is acceleration. That is, force is equal to the mass of that particular object multiplied by the rate of change of velocity of that particular object. Now we move to Newton's third law of motion, which states that for every action, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. A simple example: if you have an object like this one, and then you try hitting that object like so, if that object is still, it will not move, okay? But your fist will feel the pain. Why does that happen? Simply because for every action, there is always an equal and opposite reaction. The reaction force comes from that solid object you're hitting, and that's why you feel the pain, okay? So this is what John Taylor tries to apply in this sense. In the previous episode, we get to learn that Evie Amanda advises John Taylor to dial a certain code that will end up blowing the sniper shooter's mind. Is that what is about to happen? Stick around and let's see what happens next. "I'll fire," he threatened. That, for a moment, almost launched me out of the tank. It was no bluff. He was going to do it. That I sensed. A terrible error on my part. It was the very moment I had been waiting for. This was how it had to end. I aimed my .600 to the right side and fired once. Reaction force tipped the tank over to the left side. So I could roll in it toward him. I turned it clockwise. Conquest. The tank rolled and I rolled in it. Halfway, I dived out and sprang to my feet, my gun tearing down his chest. "Wherever you are," he barked, "just cut the crap." "Mr. Silverstein," I said, smoothing the trigger with my index finger. "This is what's going to happen. How about I shoot the crap out of you and sleep with your little princess, Amanda?" "You maniac!" he barked, approaching me. "You just crossed the lines with the wrong guy." "I'm a decent guy, Mr. Silverstein," I said. "We can work things out. It doesn't have to end this way." "Do you think a nice suit and a .600 rifle scares the shit out of me, sir?" The man inched closer. "Excuse me, mister. Stop right there. Right there where you are. Another step in my direction, I take you out." He dropped his rifle and inched closer. His eyes were pinned at my neck. I withdrew 2 paces backward. Then came Amanda's voice. "John, stop!" I spun my right hand and stretched out my index finger. "Stay out of this, Amanda," I said. A gap of silence ensued. "I'll shut my eyes once, if you allow me, mister," said Mr. Silverstein. "And mister, should they find your hatchet of a face before me, the next moment they open, I'll box you over to the ground in a single punch." "You shut your eyes, Mr. Silverstein, that's okay. But before you open them, I will have screwed this .600 right into your left eye." At that, he fidgeted in a most confounding manner. "Jake," I whispered over my earpiece. "This is John Taylor. I have a visual on the shooter." I repeat, the sniper stands before me. "This is Jake Daniels. Copy that, John. We've got your position on our GPS system. The target is a trained field agent and considered extremely dangerous. Take him out." "Copy that, Jake." The man had to die. Otherwise, in a blink of an eye, it would be me. "John," interjected Amanda, "don't shoot. He'll kill you. Just dial 006 and press to call." The barrel of my gun aimed at his head. I grabbed the tank, lifted it up in the air, and hurled it at him. The man trotted backward. His neck twisted in a loud click. He angled along its trajectory, charged, and headed it away. The tank flew across the generator housing and crashed against the primary windings of a step-down transformer. "That's a waste of time, John," said Amanda over my earpiece. "Trust me, you'll never kill him that way. If there is death, it will not come from your shot. It will come from his if you don't listen to me." So, ladies and gentlemen, that marks the end of my today's episode. Stay tuned. Goodbye.